This is Remaining Light by Talking Heads. Let's talk records. David Byrne, Chris Frantz, and Tina Weymouth met while attending the Rhode Island School of Design in 1974. While there, they were in a band called the Artistics that started playing this ballad about the mind of a serial killer. The trio moved to New York City in 1975. In New York, they decided to start a band, choosing to go with the name Talking Heads, inspired by a TV Guide issue mentioning the term mostly used for news anchors. Talking Heads played their first show June 5th, 1975 at the legendary CBGB's, opening for a band from Queens called Ramones. They grew up following and got signed to Sire Records. In early 1976, they released their first single, Love, Building on Fire, as a trio. A year later, they added Jerry Harrison as guitarist, pianist, and backing vocals. Harrison had played with the legendary Modern Lovers with Jonathan Richman. Talking Heads 77 was their first album, released in 1977 on Sire Records. The album reached number 97 on the LPs chart. The song that they were playing back in 74 with their old band became their nervy, paranoid, pulsating first single, Psycho Killer, which also became one of their most well-known songs. It reached number 92 on the Hot 100. This album made a fan out of the legendary former Roxy Music member Brian Eno, who had also worked with David Bowie and Robert Fripp. And to show his appreciation for the band, he released a song called King's Lead Hat, which is an anagram for Talking Heads. Brian Eno met Talking Heads and would go on to produce their follow-up album, More Songs About Buildings and Food, released in 1978. This was the first time that Talking Heads would record at Compass Studio in Nassau, Bahamas. With the assistance of Eno, the band began to experiment with funk and African rhythms to add a more danceable edge to the music. The Al Green cover, Take Me to the River, reached number 26 on the Hot 100, and the album reached number 29 on the Hot 200. Eno came back to work with the band for their next album, Fear of Music, in 1979, which reached number 21. After touring for Fear of Music, the band took a break. Weymouth and Frantz were married by now, left for the Caribbean for a much-needed holiday where they played native percussion instruments and hung out with reggae legends like Sly and Robbie. They loved the Caribbean so much that they decided to buy an apartment right above Compass Studio in the Bahamas. In early 1980, Byrne and Harrison met with Weymouth and Frantz in the Bahamas to discuss their music and the fate of the band. Byrne began to understand that they needed to work in a more collaborative way and that he needed to put aside his pride. A few weeks later, Eno arrived in the Bahamas to meet with the band. Talking Heads and Eno began work using a collective collaborative approach influenced by African polyrhythmic music, composing songs over long jam sessions. They also experimented with a mix of disco and funk. The new sounds of hip-hop emerging at the time were also big inspiration. They all worked together on the lyrics with help from Eno. Guitarist Adrian Belew contributed on the album, as well as trumpeter John Hazel. Donna Hendricks from LaBelle provides backing vocals. Eno himself contributed with guitar, keyboards, percussion, and other instruments. Singer Robert Palmer also contributed to percussion. Remaining Light by Talking Heads was released October 8th, 1980 on Sire Records. It reached number 19 on the Billboard Hot 200. It was produced by Eno. The idea for the album cover art came from Frantz and Weymouth. It was made using computers from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, as well as with the help from M & Company Design Company. The artwork that ended on the back was actually initially supposed to be the artwork for the front. Once in a Lifetime was the first single, released January 1981. The song deals with existential crisis. Byrne was inspired by preacher sermons that he had been recording off the radio. The music video was directed by Byrne with the help of Tony Basil, who we all know for having the hit single Mickey. Basil helped choreograph Byrne's legendary, jerky, nervous, spasm-like movements. The music video has become very famous, and it has been called one of the best music videos of all time, and it got a lot of airplay on MTV. But the song didn't quite make it to the top 100, reaching 103 on the Billboard, bubbling under the Hot 100 chart. Houses in Motion was the second single, released in May 1981. Born Under Punches, The Heat Goes On was released as a single in Japan. Cross-Eyed and Painless was released as a single in Germany and only as a promotional single in the US. There was a music video for it with the team of Byrne and Basil coming back to direct, using street dancers from the legendary Electric Boogaloo crew. Remaining Light got great reviews when it was released, Ending up on many top 10 albums of the year list, Once in a Lifetime was ranked number 28 on the 500 greatest songs of all time list by Rolling Stone magazine in 2021. It was also listed as one of the 500 songs that shaped rock and roll list by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Rolling Stone magazine ranked the album number 126 on the 500 greatest albums of all time list in 2003, and then 129 on the 2012 updated list. It went up to number 39 on the 2020 revisited list. In 2017, Remain in Light was added to the National Recording Registry by the Library of Congress.